All right, guys. Today we're going to do the problem set. We're not going to do all the problems. I'm not going to do all the problems in the problem set, and you are not going to do all the problems in the homework. So whatever I do for the problem set is what you will be doing in the homework. So as I'm working this, what I want you to do is turn to the homework section of your book, and I'm going to start with 1B. So as I'm working 1B on the problem set, I want you to work 1B on your homework. Okay, that is what's going to be due. All right, so we are looking to find the volume of this structure. Again, we have two different boxes here. So I'm going to start. I noticed that this first box has everything, all the measurements that I need. So I am going to find the volume of that box. So I have, I'm going to start with 4 times 15. Remember, it doesn't matter what order I do this in. 4 times 5 is 20. 4 times 1 is 4. Plus 2 is 60. All right, so I've used those two numbers. Now I'm going to multiply 60 times 6. 6 times 6 is 36 and a 0. So my volume for this box is 360 cubic inches. So now I'm looking for this top box here. So I see right away that I've got some measurements, but not all measurements. So my side measurement here, it tells me is going to be 3 inches. I know that that's connected to that box because down here on this box, it tells me that my sides are 6 inches. So there's no way that there's a total there of 3 inches. Also, if it was both structures, remember it would kind of have that arrow that goes down like that and includes both of them, and there's not. So that means that this side here is 3 inches. This is a weird place to put it, but basically this line, or this edge, is the same as this edge, which is the same as this edge, because if I'm holding a solid figure, they all have to be the same or else it wouldn't be a perfect rectangle. So if that's 7, that means that this line is 7. So I have my height, I have my width. So what I'm looking for now is this measurement right here. So I'm going to go back to my schema of, okay, these are non-overlapping, which means that this square is fitting perfectly on top of, or I'm sorry, this rectangular prism is sitting perfectly on top of this rectangular prism. So that means that if this rectangular prism is 4 inches here, that means that this has to be 4 inches, because if it was any bigger than 4 inches, it would hang off the back, and that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about structures that line up perfectly. So now I have enough information to find the volume of this box. And so I have 3 times 7, which is 21. And then I need to multiply that times 4. And I get 84. So now I have the volume of my bottom rectangular prism and my top rectangular prism. So I'm going to add those together. And I should get 444 cubic inches. My solution strategy was find the volume of the larger rectangular prism and use the measurements to find all of the necessary information to find the second rectangular prism. Now, when you go to do this on your homework, I am expecting you to write this every single time. The more you write it, the more it will stick in your brain. So you are not going to take the easy way out of this. I am, because I have two kids who at some point here are not going to be much quieter much longer. So I'm going to work a little bit quicker. Okay, so now I'm going to move down to D. So in your homework, you don't have to do A and you don't have to do C. You have to do B and then you have to do D. All right, so I'm looking, and I know this right away that, again, this bottom box has all the measurements. This bottom rectangular prism has all the measurements that I need to find the volume. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to multiply 3 times 6, that's 18, times 10 is 180 cubic meters. All right, so now up here on the top, this prism, I know that because that line is 8, that means that line is 8, this edge is 8. I'm calling them lines, they're edges, I'm sorry. So, but that's the only measurement that I have. Well, I'm kind of getting the hang of it, and I know that because these don't overlap, that if my measurement here is 3, that means my measurement here needs to be 3. So the only thing that I'm missing now is the height. So I've got this arrow here that tells me that the height of both of these prisms is 12. So I have to find out the height of just this one. Now I could look and say, that's about halfway, but that's not very mathematical. Mathematicians, when they're solving problems, don't actually guess. All right, they have to prove their work. You can guess when you're estimating, as long as it's reasonable, but when I'm looking, I don't look at that and guess how long that is. I have to have proof somewhere. So I'm going to check my other numbers, and it tells me that this corner edge back here is 6. So if this edge is 6, that means that all the edges on this particular prism are going to be 6. So if the whole thing is 12 and this bottom part is 6, 6 plus what number will give me 12? 6. So now I have all of my measurements and I can multiply them together to find the volume. So I have 6 times 8 times 3. 6 times 8 is 48. 48 times 3, 24, 12, 13 is 144. And we are talking about cubic meters. So I have the top and I have the bottom. So I need to add those together. So I have 144 plus 180. And I should have, oh, look. I was going to say, that does not seem right. I didn't carry my 1 there. Sorry, kids. It's been a long night with these sick girls. So 324. So my volume is 324 cubic meters. All right. Again, you need to fill in this solution strategy. I don't care if you write the same thing that you wrote up here, but you need to tell me how you found those boxes. That's important because that is forming connections for your brain. I'm skipping it because I've got the kiddos that I need to take care of. All right, so number 2, it gives me the dimensions of 2 prisms. So if you notice, I have 2 shapes here. I have this shape, and all of these are the same. And then I have this shape. All right, and so it gives me the measurements. It says one is 13 by 8 by 2. So usually it's length times width times height. So a height is going to be a very small because it's only 2. So that tells me that that's probably going to be this. 2, 8, 13. But I gotta double check. It tells me the other one is 9 by 8 by 18. So if I say length times width times height, that totally makes sense because that's much higher than this one. So now I have to find the volume of this whole piece. So this is going to be a lot of puzzle pieces put together. So I'm going to take this little box first, this little prism. So I have 13 times 2, which is 26. So 13, now I'm going to multiply it by 8 times 8. So that is 48. 8 times 2 is 16, plus 4 is 20. All right, so that tells me that these little boxes each have 208 cubic inches. And there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of them. So 208 times 6. 6 times 8 is 48. 6 times 2 is 12. 1,248. That's the volume of all of those little boxes added up. Now I'm going to look at this bigger box. So I have 9. I got to check because my pen's a little faded in there. 9 times 8 times 18. I know 9 times 8 is 72 times 18. 8 times 2 is 16. 8 times 7 is 56, plus 1 is 57. I'm actually multiplying by 10 here. 1 times 2 is 2. 1 times 7 is 7. So I'm going to add those together. 6, 9, 5 plus 7 is 12. So one of these boxes is 1,296, but I have 2 of them. So I can multiply by 2, or I could just add them. So I'm just going to add them today. 18, 19, 5, 2. All right. So 2 of those boxes should add up to 2,592 cubic inches. So now I'm going to add my other boxes to that. 2 plus 8 is 10. 1 plus 9 is 10, plus 4 is 14. So 6 plus 2 is 8. 2 plus 1 is 3. I'm going to check my work. Yep. My answer is 3,840 cubic inches. Now, if you are doing this work on a separate sheet of paper, when you turn in your homework, you need to turn in that separate sheet of paper because you have to do the math. There is no calculators. That's not a skill. Once you guys become masters of multiplication, then we can move on to using calculators and becoming more efficient. But until you have mastered how to do this multiplication quickly, then no calculators because that's not helping. All right, and we're going to do one more today, and we're going to do number 4. All right, so you can read this in your book. I don't have it. There we go. Scan. There we go. A rectangular tank with a base area, so that's the length times the width, of 24 centimeters, is filled with water and oil to a depth of 9 centimeters. The oil and water separate into 2 layers. That's why those are 2 different colors. And when the oil rises to the top, if the thickness of the oil layer is 4, what is the volume of the water? Okay, well, it told me that it was filled to a depth, height, both of those. That means that both of those are 9. All right. So because both of those are 9, I know it told me that my oil would be 4. So that means that my water, the height is 5. And it told me that this bottom number down here, this length times width, it doesn't give me two separate numbers, but it tells me that when I multiply those two numbers together, I get 24. So now I just have to figure out what the volume of this is. So if I know that the bottom is 24 centimeters, then I want to figure out if I have 24 and I have 5 layers of that, how much is that? So 24 times 5. 5 times 4 is 20. 5 times 2 is 10, 11, 12. So 120 cubic centimeters is my answer there. So for your homework, as you're in class today, you are going to do number 1, B, and D. You are going to do number 2, and you are going to do number 4. When you are done with that, your job is to go to Zearn. I know that you like Prodigy better. However, Prodigy is not helping us grow as mathematicians. Zearn is better practice for you, and it directly relates to what we're doing. It is a follow-up to what we're doing. If you pass, today is Tuesday, if you get through your 4 lessons in Zearn by the end of the week for your different lessons, then there will be a reward for you. Okay? So work hard, make sure that you are giving your best effort, and hopefully I get to see you tomorrow. Have a good day.